10 minutes before my wedding, my best friend gripped my wrist so hard her nails pressed through my skin. "Clara," she whispered, "don't go out there yet." I was standing in the bridal suite in a plain white dress, holding a small satin clutch in one hand and my mother's handwritten letter in the other. Outside the door, 200 guests had already gone quiet. The music had stopped too soon. Chairs scraped against the grass. A microphone cracked once, then hummed. That sound made my stomach turn. Rachel opened the suite door just enough for us to see the garden. My father was standing at the altar with a wireless microphone in his shaking hand. My mother stood beside him, chin lifted, wearing the same smooth smile she used whenever she was about to win an argument. My younger sister stood behind them with her phone raised, recording. And in the third row, seat 7, sat a man I had not invited. Derek Whitmore. He stared at the ground like he wished the earth would swallow him. Rachel looked at me. "They're really doing it." For a second I could not move. My veil brushed my shoulders. My bouquet sat forgotten on the vanity. The room smelled like hairspray, roses, and fear. Then I looked down at the clutch in my hand. Inside it was a thin manila envelope. 5 pages. A few screenshots. 2 transaction records. 1 guest list. Not much paper. But enough truth to burn down a lie that had taken my mother more than a year to build. My name is Clara Bennett. I was 32 years old when my own mother accepted $40,000 from another family to stop me from marrying the man I loved. She did not warn me. She did not tell my father the truth. She took the money, added their friends to my wedding, placed their son near the altar, and prepared a speech for my father to read in front of everyone I knew. She thought shame would make me obey. She should have known better. I had been obeying her my whole life. I grew up outside Knoxville, Tennessee, in a small house with 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a swing set in the backyard that my father promised to fix every summer and never did. My dad, George Bennett, worked for the Postal Service for more than 30 years. He was a quiet man, the kind who could sit through a storm without opening a window. My mother, Patricia, ran our house like she was managing a courtroom where she was always the judge. Her favorite sentence was, "After everything I've done for this family." She said it when I was 14 and wanted to go to a friend's birthday instead of watching my little sister. She said it when I missed Easter dinner because I had a work deadline. She said it when I told her I couldn't drive across town to fix something she could have handled herself. My sister Vanessa was 5 years younger than me, and from the day she was born my role changed. I became the responsible one, the helpful one, the daughter who cooked, cleaned, drove, paid, smiled, and never made things difficult. Vanessa got rides, rent help, birthday money, and excuses. I got expectations. I paid my own way through community college, then finished a degree in paralegal studies while working morning shifts at a cafe. By 26, I had a full-time job at a family law firm downtown. By 30, I had bought a small townhouse with a front porch, a leaking kitchen faucet, and a mortgage in my name only. I was proud of it. My mother called it cute. That was Patricia Bennett's gift. She could shrink anything I built with one word. Then I met Ethan Reed. Ethan was a structural engineer, quiet in the way steady people are quiet. He listened before he answered. He never tried to fill a room. When he held my hand, it felt less like being claimed and more like being understood. The first time I brought him home for Thanksgiving, he wore a pressed blue shirt and brought my mother a bouquet of yellow flowers. He shook my father's hand and called him sir. He helped clear the dishes without being asked. My mother watched him the whole night with a smile that never reached her eyes. After he left, she cornered me in the hallway. "Are you sure about him?" she asked. I remember the soft way she said it. Almost kind. Almost worried. "What does that mean?" She folded a dish towel with sharp little snaps. "It means you've worked hard, Clara. You need someone who can give you a real future." I should have heard the insult in that. I did hear it. I just pretended I didn't. For 4 years, she called Ethan your friend. She forgot to invite him to Christmas. She set me next to Derek Whitmore at a backyard barbecue, while Ethan stood 6 feet away holding a paper plate. She told relatives I had changed since meeting him, as if happiness were a disease I had caught. Ethan never answered her cruelty with cruelty. On the drive home, he would take my hand and say, "You don't have to defend us to people who don't want to understand." I loved him for that. Maybe that was why my mother hated him. He made it harder for her to reach me. When Ethan proposed by the river, there was no crowd, no big performance, no hidden camera. Just the two of us on a bench at sunset, his voice low, his hand trembling slightly as he opened the ring box. I said yes before he finished asking. When I called my mother that night, there was a long silence on the other end. Then she said, "I hope you've thought this through." No joy. No congratulations. Just a locked door where a mother's happiness should have been. 3 weeks later, she called me with a voice so gentle I almost didn't recognize it. "Clara," she said, "I want to help with the wedding." I sat down on the edge of my bed. "Help how?" "I've been saving. I can contribute $20,000. I stared at the wall. My mother had never offered me money. Not for school. Not for books. Not when I was 22 and eating toast for dinner 3 nights a week. Now she was offering $20,000 like it had been waiting in a drawer with my name on it. "Mom," I said carefully, "that's a lot. You're my daughter." Her voice softened even more. "I just want to be involved. Is that so terrible?" I wanted to believe her. That was the most painful part. Even after years of being used, corrected, and measured, some small part of me still wanted my mother to choose me without a condition. So I said yes. Ethan was sitting beside me on the couch when I told him. He did not smile. "Your mom has never offered you money before," he said. "I know. Be careful." I kissed his cheek and told him maybe she was finally trying. But Patricia Bennett was not trying to love me. She was buying access. Within 2 weeks, she added 30 names to the guest list. People I did not know. People Ethan had never met. When I pushed back, she said they were practically family. Then she insisted Derek Whitmore sit near the front because his mother had bad knees. Carol Whitmore was my mother's oldest friend. Derek was her son. He was polite, bland, and always seemed embarrassed by his mother's interest in me. I had spoken to him maybe 6 times in my life, never for more than 5 minutes. But somehow, my mother had decided he belonged in the 3rd row of my wedding. I was busy. The venue was booked. The florist needed answers. Vanessa hated her bridesmaid dress and made me change the color. My mother called every day, asking about seating, flowers, favors, and family politics until I felt like the wedding had become a door I was trying to hold shut with both hands. 6 days before the ceremony, at 11:07 at night, my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Rachel Moore. My maid of honor. My best friend. The only person besides Ethan who could read my face before I spoke. When I answered, she did not say hello. "I'm coming over," she said. "Do not call your mother. Do not call Vanessa. Wait for me." 15 minutes later, Rachel was sitting on my kitchen floor with her coat still on, holding her phone like it might explode. She turned the screen toward me. "It was sent to the wrong group chat," she said. "Carol's nail salon thread." I don't think she realized Rachel from the salon is also me. At first, the words on the screen made no sense. "Is everything ready for Saturday? Derek is nervous. I told him once the intervention works, Clara will come around." The $40,000 was worth every penny. I read it once. Then again. The room seemed to tilt. Rachel swiped to the next screenshot. My mother's reply sat there in a gray bubble. "Don't worry. Once George reads the speech, Clara won't have a choice. She won't humiliate herself in front of 200 people." I set the phone on the table. My fingers were cold. $40,000. My mother had offered me $20,000 for the wedding. Now I understood why. It had never been hers. She had taken money from Carol Whitmore, from Derek's family, to get close enough to steer my wedding from the inside. Not just steer it. Stop it. Rachel reached for my hand. "I'm so sorry." For a few minutes I could not speak. I could hear the refrigerator humming. I could hear my own breathing. I could see my mother's face in my mind, smiling at dress fittings, asking about flowers, pretending she wanted to help. I cried once. Not long. Then I wiped my face with a paper towel, opened my laptop and called Ethan. He was at my house in 14 minutes. He read the screenshots without saying a word. His jaw tightened but his voice stayed calm. "We're not canceling." I looked at him. "Ethan." "No," he said gently. "This is our wedding. They don't get to steal it because they planned something ugly." Rachel looked between us. "Then what do we do?" I was a litigation paralegal. I had spent years preparing case files for people whose lives had been twisted by lies, money, fear, and control. I knew how to build a timeline. I knew how to make facts speak without shouting. So that night at my kitchen table we built our own exhibit file. Rachel found the payment records because Carol's public transaction history was careless. 2 transfers to Patricia Bennett. $25,000 in March. $15,000 in August. Both marked with the same memo. Wedding arrangement. I printed the screenshots, the payment records, and the 2 guest lists. Mine with 170 names, my mother's version with 230 extra guests. Most of them tied to Carol. 5 pages. That was all we needed. Ethan called Reverend Miles, the woman set to marry us, and warned her the ceremony might be interrupted. She listened quietly, then said, "When the interruption ends, I will continue." Rachel took the envelope home and locked it in her closet. For the next 5 days, I became the calmest version of myself I had ever met. I smiled through the final venue walkthrough. I nodded while my mother discussed table numbers. I sat across from Derek at the rehearsal dinner while he stared into his water glass, and my mother introduced him to guests like he was part of the wedding party. "This is Derek," she said again and again. "Such a wonderful young man." Ethan shook Derek's hand near the bar. Derek looked away first. My father barely spoke that night. He sat beside my mother with a folded sheet of paper in his jacket pocket. I saw the corner of it when he reached for his napkin. A speech. Her speech. The next morning I woke before sunrise. My wedding dress hung from the closet door like it knew more than it should. I drove to the garden estate with my hair still damp and the sky gray over the hills. Rachel arrived at 7 with the manila envelope in her tote bag. She did not say, "Are you sure?" She knew me better than that. By 10:15 I was dressed. The veil was pinned. My makeup was done. My hands were steady. Then my mother came into the bridal suite. "You look beautiful," she said. She hugged me too tightly. Her perfume pressed into my throat. When she pulled back, she placed a white envelope on the vanity. "For later," she said. "I wrote you something." Her smile was soft, but her eyes were bright with control. After she left, Rachel and I stared at that white envelope for a long moment. Then Rachel opened the manila one. We read every page again. The screenshot. The transfers. The guest list. The message about my father's speech. At 10:25, Reverend Miles knocked once and stepped inside. "I'm ready when you are." My phone buzzed. "Ethan, whatever happens out there, I am marrying you today." I pressed the phone to my chest. Then the music started. Rachel handed me the clutch with the envelope inside. I stepped out into the garden. 200 faces turned toward me. White chairs curved around the stone path. The flowers were perfect. The sky was clear. Everything looked like a wedding except the altar. My father stood there holding a microphone. My mother stood beside him with her letter. Vanessa had her phone raised. And Derek Whitmore sat in the 3rd row, exactly where my mother had placed him. I walked anyway. Each step felt slower than the last. When I reached Ethan, he took my hand. His palm was warm. "I'm here," he whispered. Before Reverend Miles could begin, my mother lifted one hand. "Wait," she said. The whole garden froze. My father raised the microphone to his mouth. His hand was shaking so badly the silver band on his finger caught the sunlight. And in my clutch against my ribs the truth waited. My father looked down at the paper in his hand. For the first time that morning, the garden did not feel beautiful. It felt like a room with no doors. The guests sat still. A few leaned forward. Someone in the 2nd row whispered my name and then stopped. My mother stood beside my father with her shoulders straight and her mouth pressed into a thin, patient line. She was waiting for me to cry. She was waiting for me to beg. She was waiting for the little girl she had trained to make everyone else comfortable. My father cleared his throat. "Clara," he began, and his voice cracked on my name. He looked at the page again. "Your mother and I believe there are things you need to hear before this goes any further." Ethan's hand held mine steady and warm. My father kept reading. "We have serious concerns about Ethan Reed. We don't know enough about his finances, his debts, or his ability to provide the kind of life you deserve." A sound moved through the guests, soft and shocked. I looked at my father's face. He was not angry. He was afraid. Not for me. Of my mother. Of the moment. Of the public mistake he had already stepped into and could not leave. My mother nodded beside him, slowly, like she had written every word. Because she had. My father swallowed. "A marriage should be built on stability, on security, on truth. And we believe you are making a decision without all the facts." Ethan did not move. He did not defend himself. He did not tighten his grip or lower his head. He stood there like a man who had already chosen peace before the fight began. Then my mother reached for the microphone. George handed it to her too quickly, like he was grateful to be done. She faced the guests. "I love my daughter," she said, her voice clear enough to reach the last row. "That is why I cannot stand here and watch her throw away her future." Vanessa's phone stayed high behind her. The little red dot was recording everything. My mother unfolded her white envelope. "Clara, I wrote this because I knew you would not listen to me any other way." There it was. Her favorite trick. Make control sound like concern. She read from the letter, telling the guests Ethan had no family money, no property, no grand name to offer me. She said he had kept too much private. She said I had worked too hard to attach my life to a man who could not give me the future I deserved. Every sentence landed like a stone placed carefully on my chest. But I did not break. Because every lie she told had already been answered by the envelope in my clutch. Then she lowered the letter and turned toward the third row. "There is someone here today who has cared about Clara for a long time," she said. "Someone our family trusts. Someone who can give her the life she deserves." 200 heads turned at once. Derek Whitmore sat frozen in row 3. His face was red. His hands were locked together. He did not look at me. He did not look at Ethan. He stared at the grass between his shoes like the truth was written there. My mother lifted her chin. "Derek is here, Clara. It is not too late to fix this." The garden went silent. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. For 10 seconds no one spoke. That silence was supposed to swallow me. Instead it cleared my mind. I turned to Rachel. She had already stepped closer. Her hand opened my clutch. I reached inside and pulled out the manila envelope. My mother's eyes moved to it. Something changed in her face. Not fear yet. Recognition. I looked at my father. "May I have the microphone, please?" He handed it to me without asking my mother. Maybe that was the first honest thing he had done all day. I held the microphone in one hand and the envelope in the other. My voice when it came was calm. "Thank you, Mom." A few people shifted in their seats. My mother blinked, confused by my tone. "I appreciate you sharing your concerns in front of everyone," I said. "Since we are making private matters public, I would like to do the same." I turned slightly toward Ethan. Ethan Reed is a licensed structural engineer. He has worked at the same firm for 11 years. He has no hidden debt. He has excellent credit. And more than that, he has never once tried to control me, shame me, or sell my future to someone else. My mother's lips parted. I opened the envelope. I know how to check facts because I do it for a living. I am a litigation paralegal. Evidence matters to me. So does timing. So does intent. I lifted the first page. This is the guest list I gave to the venue. 170 names. Then I lifted the second page. This is the guest list my mother submitted after she offered to help pay for the wedding. 200 names. 30 extra guests. Almost all connected to Carol Whitmore, Derek's mother. The whispers began. Small at first. Then wider. Carol sat 4 rows behind her son. She pressed one hand against her purse and looked straight ahead. I lifted the next page. And this is the part my mother did not expect me to have. My mother took one step forward. Clara, stop. I looked at her. No. One word. Not loud. Not cruel. Just finished. I read from the page. March 15th. Carol Whitmore transferred $25,000 to Patricia Bennett. Memo. Wedding arrangement. The garden shifted. I lifted the second record. August 22nd. Another transfer. $15,000. Same sender. Same recipient. Same memo. I lowered the paper. That is $40,000. Someone near the back said, "Oh my God." I turned toward the third row. Carol Whitmore paid my mother $40,000. And after that money changed hands, my mother added Carol's friends to my wedding, placed Derek near the altar, prepared my father's speech, and planned this interruption. Derek closed his eyes. Vanessa's phone dropped a few inches. I looked straight at her. "Keep recording, Vanessa. This is the first honest thing you've ever posted." Her face went pale. My mother's careful smile was gone now. "That is not what happened," she said quickly. "Carol was helping. She wanted what was best for everyone." "For everyone?" I asked. "Or for you?" Her eyes flashed. "I did this because you would not listen. You were making a mistake. You took money. I am your mother. You took $40,000 to stop my wedding." Her mouth opened then closed. The guests did not need another document. The silence around her was enough. My father turned slowly toward her. "Patricia," he said, "is it true?" She would not look at him. He stepped closer. The paper she had given him was crushed in his hand now. "Did you take money from Carol?" "It was not like that." His voice shook. "Did you take money from another family to arrange our daughter's marriage?" My mother looked at the crowd, searching for one friendly face. She found none. "I was scared," she said. "I was scared of losing her." I almost laughed, but there was no joy in it. "You were scared of losing me," I said. "So you tried to trade me." The words landed harder than I expected. My father's face changed. His anger drained away, and something heavier took its place. Shame. He turned to Ethan. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "I thought I was protecting her." Ethan nodded once. Not forgiveness. Not anger. Just acknowledgement. My father looked at me. I should have asked. For the first time in my life, I saw him without my mother's shadow over his face. A tired man holding a speech he should never have read. He stepped down from the platform and walked to the back row. He sat alone, still holding the crushed paper. Then Derek stood. His chair scraped the grass. Carol reached for him. "Derek, sit down." He pulled his arm away. "No, Mom." His voice was quiet, but the garden heard it. He looked at me for the first time. "I'm sorry." Then he walked down the aisle, past the flowers, past the guests, past the white chairs, and through the garden gate. He did not look back. Carol stayed seated, stiff as stone. My mother watched him leave, and in that moment, I saw the truth settle over her. The plan was dead. The money had bought nothing. The daughter she thought she could control was standing at the altar with the microphone in her hand. I placed the documents on the podium. My mother's face was wet now, but I had seen those tears too many times to trust them. "How could you do this to me?" she whispered. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said, "You planned to humiliate me at my own wedding, and you are still asking why it hurt you." She flinched. I turned to Reverend Miles. "Can I get married now?" For one heartbeat, nobody moved. Then someone laughed softly. Not because it was funny, because the pressure had finally cracked. A clap came from the middle rows. Then another. Then the garden rose in applause. Reverend Miles stepped forward as if she had been waiting for that exact moment. She opened her book. "Clara," she said gently. "Ethan." Ethan turned to me. His eyes were wet, but his smile was steady. The ceremony that followed was simple. No one interrupted. No one spoke over us. No one tried to turn love into a vote. When I said my vows, I did not make a speech. I only said what I knew. I choose you because you never asked me to become smaller so you could feel bigger. I choose you because you stood beside me when silence would have been easier. I choose you because with you I am not a duty. I am a person. Ethan's voice broke when he answered. I choose you in peace, in storms, in rooms full of people, and in quiet kitchens after the worst days. I choose the life we build, not the one others tried to buy for us. Rachel handed us the rings. My hands were steady. When Reverend Miles pronounced us husband and wife, the applause rose again, louder than before. Ethan kissed me softly. For a moment, everything else disappeared. Not my mother. Not the money. Not the empty chair in row 3. Just Ethan's hand on my back and the first clean breath I had taken all day. But before we walked down the aisle, I picked up the microphone one last time. The garden quieted. My mother stood at the edge of the platform, smaller than I had ever seen her. I looked at her. $40,000, I said. That was the price you put on my life. But the truth is, keeping me would have cost you nothing. All you had to do was show up and be happy for me. Her face folded. I kept my voice soft. I would have loved you for free. No one clapped that time. Some moments are not made for applause. I set the microphone down, took Ethan's hand, and walked through the garden gate with my husband. The reception went on without my mother, my father, Vanessa, Carol, or Derek. Their chairs at the family table stayed empty. White napkins folded like small flags of surrender. Plates untouched. Water glasses full. I noticed them once during dinner. Ethan followed my gaze. Are you okay? I looked at the empty chairs. Then I looked at him. I will be. And I meant it. We danced under warm lights. Rachel cried during her toast and pretended she had something in her eye. Ethan's mother held both my hands and told me I was already family. For the first time that day, the word did not feel like a chain. That night, in the hotel room, I opened the white envelope my mother had left for me. Most of the letter was what I expected. Guilt. Warnings. Sacrifice written again and again like a prayer. But near the end, her handwriting changed. I am scared I am losing you. I am scared he will take you away. I am scared you won't need me anymore. I read those lines twice. They were real. But fear does not excuse betrayal. Pain does not make a transaction clean. I folded the letter and placed it in the drawer beside the bed. I did not tear it up. I did not forgive it either. For 6 months, I did not speak to my mother. I changed my number. I blocked her online. I told the receptionist at my firm that if Patricia Bennett called, she could leave a message and nothing more. She sent cards. I did not open them. She came to the townhouse once. Ethan answered the door. She will call when she is ready, he told her. Then he closed it. Vanessa disappeared from social media for a while after the wedding video spread around town. The recording she thought would embarrass me became the thing that exposed our mother. I heard she moved to another city. She has not called. Carol and my mother stopped speaking. $40,000 and 18 years of friendship ended in one afternoon. 3 months after the wedding, a letter arrived at my office. It was from my father. Only 2 lines. I'm sorry I didn't ask. I should have asked. I sat at my desk for a long time after reading it. I did not answer right away. But I did not throw it away. Sometimes healing does not begin with forgiveness. Sometimes it begins with proof that one person finally understands what they broke. On a quiet Sunday in October, Ethan and I painted the small room at the back of our townhouse. Maybe one day it would be a nursery. Maybe an office. Maybe just a room with sunlight and no old ghosts inside it. My phone rang while I was washing paint from my hands. Dad. I watched the screen until the last ring. Then I answered. We talked for 14 minutes. He told me about his tomato plants. He told me the gutters needed cleaning. He did not defend my mother. He did not ask me to fix the family. Before he hung up, he said, I'm glad you answered. I looked through the kitchen window at Ethan rinsing a paintbrush in the yard. So am I said. My mother has not knocked with clean hands yet. Maybe she never will. But I no longer wait at the door. For most of my life, I thought being a good daughter meant carrying what everyone else refused to hold. Their guilt, their silence, their plans, their pride. That day at the altar taught me something different. Love is not control. Family is not ownership. And a daughter's life is not something anyone gets to price, trade, or arrange. They thought they could stop my wedding with shame. Instead, they gave me the microphone. And once I finally had it, I told the truth.